Welcome to the Blazer Way panel. I am Xavier Turner. I am a junior double majoring in political science and criminal justice from York, Alabama, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Mr. UAB for this year. Today's discussion will feature the 2021 Blazer Way Award winners sharing their thoughts about the creed and how the entire UAB community can live the Blazer Way. Before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about the Blazer Way. The Blazer Way is the university's creed, which was developed in 2017 by a committee of UAB students, faculty, staff, and alumni. The creed highlights 5 tenets for each of us to live by that are aligned with UAB's values. They are service, honor and integrity, scholarship, diversity, and innovation. The Blazer Way was established in 2019 to highlight members of the UAB community who live out these tenets on and off campus. A winner is selected in each of the following categories: undergraduate and graduate student, faculty, staff, and alumni through a nomination and interview process. The winners are announced during Creed Week in the spring semester, and today I'm excited to have the conversation with this year's winners. Without further ado, would you all mind please introducing yourselves and the category you won this year for the Blazer Way Awards, starting with the undergraduate winner.
Hi, my name is Saakshi Thukral, and I am a current undergraduate neuroscience major as well as an accelerated bachelor's to master's, master's of public health student.
Hi everyone, it's glad to be here. I am Sachin Budhathoki, and I am third year biomedical engineering PhD student, and I won the Blazer Way Award in graduate category for this year. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I am Sami Raut. I'm in the Department of Biology, and I won the Blazer Way Award in the faculty category.
Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Colson. I am the program manager for the UAB Birmingham Promise cohort, and I won in the staff category.
Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine. I am a 2014 alum of UAB and won the Alumni Award.
Were any of you surprised at all when you found out you had been nominated for this award? And feel free, anyone can jump in.
So I'll jump in here. I definitely was surprised. I've done a lot of work at UAB over the past 4 years or so, 3.5 years in admissions as a recruiter. This is just my first year working with current students as well as faculty in more of a more, I guess, intense way. And so really having that little time of exposure, but apparently making that big of an impact was very humbling for me. And it was a great honor just to receive the nomination, let alone the award itself.
Anyone else? What about you, Jasmine?
I wasn't surprised because I asked my supervisor to nominate me. So I currently work at Auburn in the Office of Inclusion and Diversity, and I talk a lot about my experience at UAB as a student, both the good parts and the parts that I probably wouldn't advise my students to follow in my footsteps. And so my supervisor knows that I have a strong affinity and love for UAB. She graduated from another institution, but she has a similar affinity. And so when I asked her, it was very much like, of course, because I know that you love UAB and I think you would be, and that's an easy nomination for me, right? So I wasn't necessarily surprised. I was kind of surprised that I won, but I wasn't surprised I got nominated because I asked for mine.
All right, anyone else? Okay. I mean, it is something that's really unique in terms of like both of you guys' experience, considering one kind of knew they were going to be nominated and the other one didn't really know. But it kind of goes to show you like how much your impact can really be felt. And you guys won the award, so you definitely made your impact in the Blazer Way. And the students are grateful for it. So the next question on the agenda is, why do you think we should emphasize the tenets of the creed as a university and community?
So I think I'll hop in on this one. I think as a university, we should really emphasize the creed because, it touches on things like integrity, service, and scholarship. And those are things that every UAB student should embody. I mean, that is what UAB teaches us. That I think, you know, even more than UAB, as a human being, we should be embodying those things and, you know, doing like kind of practicing it to be the best person that we absolutely can be. And I adore that UAB does that, that this is our creed and, you know, they tell us like, hey, this is how you should be. And it's not a this is how you should be and like, oh, if you're not like this, then you're an awful person. It's, you know, it's motivating you to be the best you can absolutely be. And I love that UAB does that. And, you know, I would love to see more incorporation of the creed in not in just like on campus student events, but, you know, even in the classroom. So I absolutely love that that this is UAB's creed.
Yeah, I can definitely agree that for me as a student, when I first came, I made sure to like kind of strive to like follow these platforms because it kind of, I think at the end of the day, it sets you up to be like a better person in terms of all aspects of life, both professionally and personally. And so I definitely feel that same vibe of trying to like strive to these tenets without having to be perfect about everything. Dr. Raut, did you have anything to add?
Sure, I would love to add on this one. I think the tenets are very, very important, not just because we are just not training professionals at UAB, we are also training future citizens and leaders. So I think these qualities just go a very long way. And as a former Blazer myself, I think UAB trained me for the best. I still remember when I started my first job, which was at another place, I felt like thanking UAB for making me the professional, the person. And it was all through the deep immersion that happened, not just in academics, but also like outside activities, extracurricular activities. There were plenty for me as a grad student, international grad student to participate. So I feel like I learned a lot. And I'm gonna echo what Saakshi just mentioned. It's very important that these tenets often be emphasized in the classrooms, maybe through like different initiatives. I don't know, I love the Blazer stickers right now that like how you show your pride. So if we can have those displaying the tenets, it would be amazing so that it reminds students on and off that you are at UAB and these are the qualities what a true Blazer stands for.
All right, so the next question is, out of the 5 tenets, which one resonates with you the most in your daily life and why?
Well, I guess I'll hop in on this one real quick. Service is definitely something that stands out to me the most. My first work experience was actually through an internship provided by UAB, which was focused primarily on community service with young people, actually youth in the city, through an organization called Youth Serve as part of my HAC 105 class, I want to say, part of the GCLH honors program way back in like 2012. And so service has always been near and dear to my heart, just in terms of career aspirations, personal aspirations. And UAB has given me so much in terms of opportunities and just resources as well. And I think it really does have the ability to not only lift up our local Birmingham community, which I think it has an obligation as well as, you know, just a lot of interest in doing so, but just our Alabama community and of course our entire world community at large. And I'm a big believer in, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And I definitely do think that UAB is Spider-Man in this analogy.
I'd actually love to add on to that. So a tenet that really resonates with me would be diversity. And the reason I say that is because UAB is not only diverse in their student population, it is also diverse in thought. When I came to UAB, I was, you know, greeted by an amazing community in the Honors College, the UAB community in general, but I was also able to find a home within the Indian community here at UAB, within like dancing on a competitive Bhangra team, or joining the Indian Cultural Association. But on top of that, what I love is the diversity of thought that we have here. Every student that you meet, they are so motivated to just learn, to be creative, to be innovative. And I love that because, you know, that pushes me to, you know, be creative, to learn, to be innovative, to do all those things. And I think that is kind of rare to see at, universities and, a little bit in our generation as well, because I feel like a lot of times things can become so stagnant that we don't go after, learning about different cultures or, trying to find new experiences. But every student at UAB is so motivated to do that. So I think diversity would be the tenet that resonates with me the most.
Yeah, I'd like to open and add my thoughts on that. I think the tenet that resonates closely with me is integrity. And more so because as a researcher, it's very important that we maintain our research integrity and everything that comes with it. Um, so integrity is what you have to do when you don't have obligation, when there is no punishment for it, or when nobody is looking at what you're doing. If we maintain that kind of integrity in everything, then naturally good things will follow. There will be no need for any chaos, something that is happening right now in a larger scale in this country or in the world. So I believe if everybody maintains their integrity, then this world can be a better place.
I would say for me, it would be diversity as well. That is the work that I do daily. I'm a diversity and inclusion practitioner, and so it is always top of mind for me. But when I think back to my experience at UAB, that was the launch pad for my career as a diversity inclusion practitioner, being involved in the Black Student Awareness Committee, and talking about my experience as a Black woman, but also really being challenged to think about the intersections of Black identity, understanding that Blackness is not a monolith, and also being challenged to really engage with other cultures and to learn and to lean in and to be engaged. But I think that UAB is also a place that fosters not only diversity, but also inclusion and equity. And so when I think about an institution that I love, I'm happy to say that I went to an institution that not only is diverse in terms of race and ethnicity and nationality and thought, but that also is creating space both in and outside of the classroom to promote inclusion and to promote equity as well.
I'm going to echo everybody's thoughts, but I think it's very hard to choose and separate diversity from innovation, because when you have different people coming to the table, then and then only can you innovate. So I think UAB has, we're very proud here at UAB that the campus itself is the 4th diverse campus in the United States. There are many initiatives on this campus that foster a lot of diversity so that everybody feels included, no matter where you come from, whether you are a minority student, a first-gen student, a low socioeconomic student, or an international student. Everybody is like welcomed here, you feel included. And when you feel included, you feel like contributing. And that's what drives or propels innovation ahead, which UAB has clearly shown in almost every area on this campus. So I think those are two of my favorites that go hand in hand.
All right, so I've seen like this link a little bit throughout all of you guys' answers to that question. And it's kind of like, even though each of the tenets are so unique to themselves, they kind of all work together to kind of make what we identify as like the UAB brand, the UAB identity. So like innovation kind of is fueled by diversity, and integrity and inclusion, honor, service. They all kind of work separately, but they accumulate to this like greater vision of what we want for our students. And I know just from my own personal experience, I used to be a very introverted student. I was very shy. I was kind of hesitant about talking to people. I couldn't talk in front of a room more than 2 people. And I know that UAB, through all of their inclusionary measures, and they really made me feel like I was a valued student on campus. And even though there's thousands of us here, there's something for everyone. You can find what you're passionate about, whether it's a dance team, whether it's mathematics, or if you're a business major, nursing, like there's something for everyone here. And if there's not an organization that you like, you just need a couple friends to start it with an advisor, and you can do what you want and make that drive that you want to see. So that's one thing I really love with all of you guys' responses, because I think that really channels what the UAB spirit is. Also, I heard some GCL representation. I am also a part of GCL. And so anybody who doesn't know, GCL stands for Global Community Leadership Honors Program. Pretty iconic, I'm be honest right there. And all the honors programs are amazing. So you guys kind of hinted at this earlier, but name a time when you demonstrated one of the tenets within the last year.
You know, with COVID, I think it's just fair to say that innovation is a tenet that I think all of us must have exhibited. So on campus, I actually started an organization called the Kidney Disease Screening and Awareness Program, or short KDSAP. And the main purpose of this organization is to educate the community about the significance of kidney disease and also provide free kidney disease screenings to the underserved populations, because kidney disease is a unique illness in that it doesn't show symptoms until the very last stage, and it actually can be fatal. So we had our first kidney disease screening on March 7th, which I believe was a day or two before the entire universe shut down and everyone went into quarantine. So for me, that was pretty bumming, because I was like, oh shoot, like I don't know how I'm going to expand KDSAP and get that member involvement that I wanted, and really spread awareness of kidney disease if we're not able to hold these screenings. But I had a great executive board. I had amazing advisors. And the undergraduate student population at UAB is also just phenomenal. And because of that, we were able to expand KDSAP through a completely virtual platform. We had a virtual kidney dissection. We had a virtual Meet the Nephrologist panel. We had a virtual convention on health inequities. And this semester, we're doing a lot of community outreach, so really focusing on providing, resources for those suffering from homelessness, or resources for, the student population as they go through a difficult time. We don't have spring break, so getting them like stress balls and educating them about how to manage stress. So I think innovation would probably be the tenet that I definitely used or highlighted this year. And as I said, I'm pretty sure everyone could resonate with that and say, yep, I was innovative this year.
So I'm going to add something to this. I was able to innovate and also render community service through my large enrollment class of like 100-something students. We usually did like service learning, which is like connecting to the community, tying some of the learning objectives in my gen ed majors class. And we had to suddenly think about how can we still do that, but on a e-platform now. So we converted our in-person service learning into an e-service learning module. And our module then focused on COVID-19 awareness, because so many people were not wearing masks. Like if you think about like what was happening in March and April, when even the toll that COVID was taking on communities of color and like other places across the country, people just not willing to wear masks and not social distance. So we started a campaign through our class. We also created a UAB awareness page, which is on Instagram, and we have 100-something following that from there. And the students then shared it on like further other platforms. So we kind of magnified the effect. So I would say I was able to like innovate and also offer community service in return to that. Now we have a vaccination module. So we are asking more people to come ahead and get vaccinated through our own class here at UAB.
Anyone else have anything else to add? All right, but yeah, I would definitely say innovation is probably the one tenet that's really got pushed a lot further this year. For example, we're having this panel discussion virtually. That's like the key example that innovation is what excites. I know like a lot of like my professors, my educators, my peers, like having to switch to like the online format, Zoom, programming is harder than ever. Trying to get engagement, marketing, social media skills has been really pushed to the forefront. And so it's really cool to see that even through the most difficult times of a pandemic, which hopefully this will be the last one for a long time, fingers crossed, we will all have the opportunity to eventually get vaccinated, get back to like normal day living. And it kind of just shows you a lot about like what's important to you. And it kind of shows how everyone's really passionate about continuing forward and pushing forward for the best for everyone. All right. So the next question is, Which of the tenets would you like to improve on or focus on more in your life? This one is to think about it.
I would say all, because it just is not only like important to be a professional, but also as a good citizen of this state, of this country, of the world in general. These are the great values that UAB teaches you in your formative years. And I feel like we should continue to work upon these values and also like inculcate them in our daily lives. So I would rate all of them to be important rather than just one, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Raut, and I was saying that if I have to choose one in particular, I would say diversity. I remember the first time I came here in the United States, I was very happy to find the UAB as a home that can accommodate people from all over the world. And I was quickly joined by the Nepalese Students Association. Um, I remember one time in which we were celebrating Hindu festival of Dasai, which is also known as Dussehra. There was one American guy who was standing outside in the Heritage Hall room in which we were celebrating, and he asked, "Hey, can I join us? It looks like interesting thing that you are doing." And I said, "Hey, why not? We are celebrating a festival. Come on in." And he hopped in, and we were and we celebrated it with him together. And he looked very interested in joining the Nepali community, and we felt like having people outside of the Nepalese community in our group made it more integrated, made us feel more integrated. And I think I'd like to focus more on the diversity tenet next time. At that time, I was just an executive member of that organization, Nepalese Students Association. Next time, this year, when the election comes, I plan to run for the president of that organization and improve more on the diversity tenet.
I think for me, it would be scholarship. I know there is a line in the creed that talks about pursuing knowledge that enriches the world. And so I think it's easy as a student to know that like scholarship is at the forefront of what you do every day. And as a professional, that's not often at the forefront of the work that you're doing. Or at least for me, it's not. And so when I think about pursuing knowledge that enriches the world and scholarship, I think it is really challenging me to think about how am I contributing to the body of knowledge, particularly within higher education, student affairs. And so whether that's presenting at conferences, that's writing articles with mentors, like being able to be a contributor, an active contributor, and not just a consumer of all the good knowledge that's available, but also being able to give back and to contribute as well.
I would say for me personally, innovation and kind of scholarship too. I mean, Jasmine brought up a lot of good stuff where a lot of what I've had to do in both recruitment and then current student kind of supplementary advising is come up with ways to deal with the pandemic, involve students, especially freshmen, into what is a very non-traditional freshman year of college. And while I did feel like I made some strides, there's definitely a lot to learn from, and definitely a lot of steps to take in order to make sure that we are integrating our new students into UAB comfortably, as well as with as many resources as possible to help them to succeed. And just within the Birmingham Promise cohort too, I really want to just keep learning more about kind of other Promise programs throughout the United States, kind of what they do, and make a great Frankenstein's monster that really fits our needs here at the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
I would agree with Dr. Raut in that, there's room for improvement on everything because, I'm looking at these tenets and I can't pick one that I would say, I only need to improve on this. I think there's always room for improvement in everything that you do. So I would agree that if given the possibility, if given the chance, or, even as just a human, I would definitely strive to improve in every area.
All right, thank you guys for sharing all of that. I know it's kind of answering that question can be a little more vulnerable, trying to see like, where do you feel like you might be a little bit weaker in, or what do you want to focus on more? So it was like really good that you guys are willing to open up about that one. So the next question is, why should all members of the UAB community commit to these tenets as a Blazer? So why should all students or all people in our Blazer Way family commit to these tenets?
So I feel that's what defines you to be a true Blazer. And that's what UAB is known for.
Yeah, I think Dr. Raut kind of put it exactly how I mean, it's basically kind of the requirements to be a true Blazer and to really act as a team and all unifying, whether you be a student, staff member, faculty, or alumni, just allying in our mission to make not only our university a better place, but of course our world a better place.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, like nail directly on the head. And then the next question is, if you could add another tenet to the current ones, what would you add and why? So this one might be a little hard, it might be a little difficult, but what other tenet would you add to the current 5?
I think I would add inclusion, because sometimes that's kind of is understood. People think it's a part of diversity, but then if you expand the efforts of diversity, you just don't want to bring people from different backgrounds to the table, but also make them feel included at the same time. So I would vote for including inclusion on top of these great 5 tenets that we have.
I'd say maybe pride, and that's like institutional pride. And I know that can be a dirty word when used in excess, but so can everything else. But that pride in what you do, what you're studying, and of course where you're coming from, and what your university can be, and that having a measure of self-reflection with that, of things that it can be and things to improve on. So definitely pride, I think, would be a great tenet to have.
I think I would like to add resilience to the tenet, because it's something that is very important for the students and for also every member of the community to improve on themselves. Especially in the academic scenario, there are many situations in which we feel challenged and we feel like we're not worthy enough and we don't believe in ourselves. But if we if we believe in resilience, I mean, UAB also has a history of resilience in which it is coming up as one of the leading institutions in the country in a short span of time as a young university. So that kind of story, if we could inculcate among the Blazers, I think it will help us get farther in this path of the Blazer way.
I think one that I would love to add would be excellence. I think, there's this, it's implied at UAB that every student and every faculty and staff member will, strive for excellence. And, I definitely see that as well. But I think it would be a good incorporation to add to the creed, just so that's on the forefront of everyone's minds that, while we're being, while we're engaging in service and scholarship and, integrity, that we're also, striving to be excellent.
Well, Sachin stole the first one that I had, was resilience. I had to think of another one on the fly. And I would say legacy. So when I think about the impact that you make, regardless of if you're a faculty or staff, your alumni, or a current student, that there is a level of impact that is far-reaching. And so this idea of legacy, that we live lives that are beyond ourselves because we're making impact, and that we strive to make positive impact, whether that's in the classroom, that's through leadership and service, or that's through academics or whatever it is in our professions, that stays at the forefront of our mind. And so we know that regardless of our time on earth, that we can leave knowing that there's a lasting legacy somewhere in the lives of someone because we were intentional about the impact that we wanted to make.
All of those answers are really good. We're going to go ahead and start marking some of those. So they may be in the creed next year. I'm not even going to lie. There might be some, might add a little pride, inclusion, some resiliency, some excellence, some legacy. It might be in the Blaze Away next year. But those are really good answers. And I think that it is valuable that we kind of highlight all those, because I think with the current way the Blaze Away is set up, those are all like kind of implied, but it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and add those in there, just to be like, here's some more things we want to focus on. Like I know Dr. Raut had kind of hinted at it with inclusion. I think, yes, it's good to have people from all types of backgrounds, but it's the importance of making sure every person feels like they have a home here, whether you're doing the Black Student Awareness Committee or Indian Cultural Association or the International Mentors. Like there's something for everyone here, and you will have a community. And I also love that even though these are like set communities, they're always willing to bring students in, have every group of students come have fun at their events or learn more and educate themselves. Because I know whenever there's an event on the green, it doesn't matter who's holding it, I'm going to go, because this is a way to get to know people. You might get some free food, you might get some learning tools, especially like as a student leader. I use my platform as a way of like sharing information with all other students. And so you kind of have to help each other and leave that legacy of helping other students in that cycle of success. So that was something that I really loved. All right, and then the next question is, how do you incorporate the service tenet in your life currently?
In my life, so do you mean how in the UAB community I'm exhibiting service?
Correct.
Yeah, I think I'm doing it concretely through this organization called GCAT. In GCAT, we invite speakers from non-academic field like industry leaders, scientists, and others to make the graduate students aware about what career opportunities they have and how they can prepare themselves as being a member of the community and before they graduate from this community, so that when they get a degree from the UAB, they will also be equally equipped with what they need to go into that job market. So GCAT is one of the way I'm doing service, I think, towards the graduate school and towards UAB. I plan to expand it through another organization called PDL, which is of the graduate students government. I plan to run for the chair of this organization this year, so that I'll be still putting my effort in this tenet more.
So as a faculty member, I do a lot of service in the college, service in the department, some community service that happens through my own classes because we have e-service learning. But I'm going to talk about something I have been doing on my own since the last 1 year. As a trained scientist, as a person who feels like we need to stick with science, especially in this pandemic when we have seen behaviors of people, or maybe people not being informed or misinformed, mistrust against science. So I'm trying to be a champion of science in this pandemic by just talking to people. Sometimes I talk to people at the grocery store about convincing them to wear a mask. When I see people with like just wearing a face shield, I'm like, that's not right. And I try to explain the science, and I have to do it very politely and diplomatically as well, so that it's taken really well, and it has been taken really well. And guess what? I always tell them I work at UAB, and that's how I begin. And I try to convince them as a trained scientist. Lately, I have convinced a lot of people of color who were very hesitant about vaccination of course, we owe those marks to the Tuskegee trial. So I talk about the trial because as a trained toxicologist, I'm aware of what happened and it was wrong. But then I talk about like how it's going to like impact them. And surely enough, I have known a few people who were so hesitant about taking the vaccines, then calling me that, yes, I took the vaccine, I'm feeling so much better. Thank you, Sami, for convincing me. And I feel like that's a big win. I was able to convince just a few handful of people, but I always tell them, pay it forward, tell it to your loved ones. You were okay after you took the vaccine so that we can vaccinate more number of people, because I think that's what needs to happen right now. So that's what I have been doing as a Trailblazer, and it has been amazing and I love it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I'm also thinking this. I'm also seeing this increasing awareness of the people. There are some faction of the people who doubt the vaccine and its good implications, but people are getting increasingly aware and like they do their little duties, like post pictures in the social media, like, okay, I'm taking this vaccine, waiting for my next dose, and feeling better. You should do this, and this has as a created more people to be more aware and more dedicated towards taking the vaccine.
Definitely echoing off Dr. Raut and Sachin is that I think a lot of times when we think of service, we think of charity work or volunteer work, either at a homeless shelter or with Blazer Kitchen or things like that. But I think it's really important to recognize that service is also just standing up for what you believe in, for being that active bystander, that if you see that something wrong is happening, then, you go up and you say, hey, what you're doing isn't right for XYZ reason. And it can be kind of hard and, scary as well to be that active bystander, to really stand up for what you believe in. But, now, especially in the time of COVID, I think it's really important. And also with the changes that are happening in our society, just, of how the generation responds to things or, how we react to some things. I think it's become increasingly important that, a part of service is not just volunteering, but just really, using your voice to make a difference and, again, standing up for what you believe in.
All right. So I know I definitely agree with like the posting of like your like vaccinations. I know my mom, she just got hers this week, and she was a little hesitant at first to get the vaccine just because of her pre-existing conditions. But when she got it, she was super excited. She was so happy. And it was like, she also, because she got it, it kind of motivated the rest of my family to kind of get it. So it's just like those smaller things really do matter. You don't have to like change the world all the time, but it's just like using your little voice to help small groups of people can really like create that legacy, as Jasmine mentioned earlier, that legacy of influencing other people's decisions in a certain matter. So we have one last question. So this question is, what advice would you give someone who would like to win this award next year?
I think my advice would be to just be yourself. Really look at those tenets and ask yourself, do you exhibit those tenets? And if you do, there is no reason that you shouldn't apply or you shouldn't be nominated for this award. And honestly, I don't, as much as I've loved receiving the Blazer Way, I think every student at UAB could receive this award, because in some shape or form, I know that every UAB Blazer exhibits all these tenets. So really my only advice would be don't try to tailor your personality to win this award. Just be yourself, because if you're being yourself and you're worthy of winning the Blazer Way Award, then you're just being a good person. And that's what everyone should strive for at UAB.
I think I'll echo, I believe, what Saakshi said earlier about her tenet that she would add, excellence, and just approaching everything you do in your work as a UAB student, alumni, or faculty, staff member, and approach everything with a sense of excellence, a sense of doing your utmost to fulfill not only your task, but how it relates to the university and to your community as a whole. And really just strive to be the best team player, the best advocate for your fellow human being who you're working with and who you see every single day. I think that's most important when considering this award, and just when you're considering being an excellent blazer and an excellent human being.
I would say don't be afraid to ask for the nomination. I think that often once you get outside of often like the academic realm, that people just don't know, right? So like if you know that you want to be nominated, ask the people in your life you can speak to, do you live the tenets out every day to nominate you? And I think that there's a level of I think people may think that like, oh, that's arrogant or like that's prideful, but it's like, no, but I love this institution. And I think that I do exhibit these things. I just need you to write the form. And so I think that sometimes we make that a big deal that like, oh, like someone just has to nominate me off of just their own volition. And it's like, well, they might not know that you want to be nominated. And so it's okay to ask for the nomination and to follow up to be like, hey, did you get that form submitted for me? Because if your name's not in the pool, then there's not an ability for you to win if your name's not in the nomination pool.
Anything else? Dr. Raut, Sachin, you have anything else to add?
I'm still thinking. I also feel like talking about the reverse way is that if you see somebody who has been exercising and who has been a champion for these 5 tenets, has been working very tirelessly, go ahead and please nominate them, because it will be a great honor and recognition for the efforts that they are doing here at UAB. Maybe they are not keen on winning the award, but their efforts exemplify the tenets. So please go ahead and nominate them, especially if there are people who are from the marginalized communities, if there are people who have done extraordinary work, in not just all the areas, but many different areas, and who continue to strive like selflessly towards these goals. Please keep them in mind and do nominate them, because it's a great recognition for what they are doing here on this campus to make this one of the best campuses in the United States.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Raut, what she said. Yeah, it's good to do everything selflessly. Like I know all the leaders are doing these tenets in their own way, even without knowing that this award exists. But if we can make them aware that, hey, you're doing a good work and UAB has a humble way of recognizing your ways of doing the blazer way, then I think they will be even more encouraged. We need to make people more aware that UAB has this way of recognizing things. When I told my friends about my nomination, they were happy, and when I told them that I won, then they were even happier. And I think they were quite encouraged by finding out that this kind of award exists. And I would encourage all the student leaders to let out this information to their group that this kind of things exist, and one should be applying for this kind of things.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think the most important part that I want all of you guys to realize that you've made an impact on so many people, and you may not even know exactly how many people you've touched with all of your work. And it's important that we all go recognized, whether it was a complete surprise that you were nominated, or if you simply just asked, hey, nominate me. But you all have made such an impact, and you guys won this award. You definitely earned it. And that's something that we want to keep the cycle going. And in the following years, we'll always look back and say the work that you've done has really changed how the landscape of UAB has forever. And I am beyond honored to have a chance to meet all of you and talk to you, just little kid me. I'm so excited to get to learn so much and grow. And this is such an developmental opportunity for me, as well as everyone else who will be watching these recordings in the future. So that's coming to an end. So thank you all for participating in this discussion, and congratulations again on your awards. And thank you all for tuning in to the Blazer Way panel presented by the Blazer Spirit Council. For more information about the Creed, visit uab.edu/blazerway or follow the Blazer Spirit Council on Instagram at UAB_Blazer Spirit. And remember, stay safe, follow social distancing guidelines, and go Blazers.